Good morning, everyone. We're here for the Sunday Mindset Session. Tony Meredith and Luke Moroney bring you all the insights, the fun, the drama, the dive deep, dig deep into mindset on a Sunday morning. We get ourselves prepared for the week ahead, Tony, don't we?
We sure do, Luke. We love it. What episode's this, mate?
112.
Oh,
weeks
112.
in a row. Amazing.
Fantastic. What a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful effort on behalf of both of us. It's awesome. 112 episodes of this. I love it. I would have thought, mate, when we first started out that we would have done 112 of these episodes.
It's amazing. David's come on, Mum, Julian, many others that have joined on the Sunday Mindset Session. And we're here to talk about what is your circle of control. What can you actually control in your life? I don't want you to answer that to start with, but imagine some of the things that we are currently in our control, what is currently out of our control. Have a look at the 3-day lockdown that's going on in Brisbane and Southeast Queensland right now, and the lockdown that we've had in Sydney. Tony Gallagher, good to see you, and good to share a bit of a Zoom session on Friday night. And, just get out there and about there. I know I put a post on social media last night. It was around the whole idea of, I hope everyone's doing well. I hope everyone's doing okay. And, just to think, bring it back to yourself, Tony.
We absolutely. First, so I didn't see that, but good on you for doing that, mate. And that's the whole idea behind the Are You OK Day. I think it's around November of every year. So reaching out to people and just checking in. Can I applaud Tony Gallagher? So Tony, good morning to you, mate. I want to applaud you for your post that you did the other day and showing some vulnerability and sticking your hand up and saying that, you know what, you needed a little bit of extra connection given what you're going through. And I'm delighted for you that you guys were able to tee something up for Friday, and I'll be there this Friday.
Lucky for you, Tony. Lucky for you to obviously put me out there and make sure that hold me accountable. Is that how it works?
Oh, 100%. 100%.
Massive delegation. If you ever saw a delegation, it was right there.
But I will be there this Friday, so my sincere apologies, Tony, but good on you, mate, for sticking your hand up. Look, there's an enormous amount going on, Luke, that's out of our control, and I'm looking forward to really getting into this and pulling it apart over the next half an hour or so, because it's such a big one. There's a range of mixed emotions, and certainly here in Queensland, yesterday my wife and I were at the local shops, we're having a cup of coffee, and next minute we're getting these text messages through, so we're going into lockdown this afternoon. Look, normally we've had a little more notice, but, the fact we're at the shops, we sort of, sculled the balance of the coffee and got up and went to the supermarket and got a few bits and pieces and then got the hell out of there because we knew.
So you stocked up in toilet paper is what you're saying?
No, not at all. Man. Stocked up in food actually. So we do our groceries every weekend, and normally we do it online, but it just so happened that we were there at the shops, and when they gave us a couple of hours notice, it's like, righto, let's get into it. So that's what we did. So no stocking up of toilet paper, mate.
Well, I hear a lot of people took affirmative action yesterday in the Southeast Queensland area. The highways were full. I don't know where they went, because it's not like you can go up the Sunshine Coast. You have to get further afield, away from the Southeast Queensland area.
It's fascinating the way that people deal with it, and reflecting on the way that I dealt with it and the way that my wife dealt with it. My wife was actually planning a huge weekend of celebrations. She had a big girls' night out, and that's how we found out actually. So one of the girlfriends sent the text through and said we're off. And we looked at news.com, and it's like, oh my gosh, like wowee, this is all happening very quickly. But you know what? And again, we're going to talk about it because it's not like we sat there and chose to have a lockdown. It was thrust upon us, and so it's about the next things that you do after that.
It is the next things you do. Do you go in panic mode, Tony, in these situations, because they get very little time? Look at the whole sporting arena right now. The NRL got shut down yesterday. AFL got shut down with all the Queensland matches, all the Brisbane matches. So these are big organisations, a lot of moving parts to them. And imagine what we have to go through ourselves within our little circle of control. And I guess a great thing about what you do, it's just basically into action mode, right?
Yeah, 100%.
Whether you sit, panic, dwell, get confused, get frustrated, or some people are in, what do we need to do? What's one step? Okay, what do we need to do? What's the second step? What's the third step? What's the fourth step? And really go into that massive action piece for ourselves and what we can do. And this is especially important in high drama, high pressured, highly stressful moments. Do you have the ability to get involved and take that action, or do you sit frustrated, dwelled, in panic mode and in freeze mode as well, Tony.
To go back to the high drama, high stressful moments, Luke, it all comes down to the meaning we place on things. So the meaning that I place on something is very different to the meaning that someone else has places on it. And for me, COVID, it's disappointing, obviously, and I feel sorry for businesses who've had to shut ever so quickly, ever so abruptly. Again, my wife was planning on spending a lot of money on alcohol last night, so unfortunately for those establishments, they don't get to see her money. I'm sure they will in the future. But the point is that the point is, it's the meaning that you place on things, right? And so for us, we're sitting there, we said, well, we're at the shops already. Ordinarily, our habit is to do our groceries online and then get the click and collect. But we thought, we're here already. Let's get in. Let's get our the things that we know that we need. Let's get out of there, because we knew that the panic would set in very quickly, and that the whole people would be coming in, and the crowds would build up. So we thought, let's just get out. We were there anyway. Let's get home and let's just take it easy and relax. And we ended up spending some time playing some board games last night as a family. So you talk about what could have been. My son, inevitably, he's 18, so he would have gone out, I imagine, somewhere. My daughter, who's 16, she would like to have, but she wasn't going to. And my wife is definitely going to. But the four of us sat there and played board games, which was a whole lot of fun.
You've been home alone, Tony. It sounds like it.
Well, but ordinarily I would have been home alone with the rugby league, mate. So it would have been, in fact, would have been like heaven, to be honest. So, but nonetheless, it was even better. It was even better than I had originally planned.
Absolutely. So. Tony Gallagher said, thanks, mate. Over 200 people showed their support. And it's just really interesting. We are often in a situation where we are dwelling, we are frustrated, we are in that sort of situation. And when we do show that vulnerability, when we do reach out, there are so many people that are willing to put their hand up and for support and action, obviously, and in your regards, delegation. David says lockdown meant that he caught catch up on emails and home maintenance for me. So yes. Good on you, David. And obviously, this is where some people are putting the positive out of a negative situation. And what can you actually do with that time? And I spoke to a couple of people yesterday in Sydney and in Brisbane, and reflecting on what we can do with these moments. People are at work. I can clean up my desk and go through emails, like David said. Sean said, good morning from both Kelly and himself. Good morning to everyone that is coming on. Hopefully you can hear us loud and clear. And obviously being grateful for those moments. And this is where our control can be set. So, Tony, getting into some of the items that we do want to discuss today.
Yes.
Hello there.
This is Bobby. This is a little girl, Bobby, Bobbi. So she's just out here spending her morning in the front garden. So she's doing a bit of a sniff around and seeing what she can roll onto and get herself wet and then drag that back inside. But this is our little girl. So we've had her for about 6 or 7 months, and she's absolutely beautiful. Aren't you? Look at you on TV, darling. Great. All right. Very good. Off you go.
So thinking about the individual items, what is in actually our circle of control? Are we getting frustrated with things that we can't control, Tony? I imagine with coaching clients, you hear a lot of the frustrations coming through day in, day out. What do you say?
Well, there's actually more that we can't control than there is that we can. What we can control is we can control our thoughts, our emotions, what we say, what we do, how we act, how we behave. But beyond that, we can't control it. Queensland government decides to make a decision on lockdown. I have zero control. Rugby league can't go ahead. I have zero control, So these are things, but unfortunately what happens is we tend to fixate on the things that are out of our control. And it's important for us to recognise that you can control you effectively. You can't control your partner. You can't control your kids. You can't control your dog or your animals. You can control you. And so it's about, recognising what are you doing. So when a decision like a lockdown, and I know that it's quite topical, but it's so many different decisions go on. What do you do? How do you respond to that? Do you react to that? Do you react negatively? Do you react scared with fear? Do you embrace it? Do you accept it? Don't pretend that it's good, because it's not good, but do you just say, well, let's get on with things? That decision's happened. And so, it's important for us to reflect, because that's the bit that we can control, and that's the bit that we can constantly build on all the time. But you're right, from a coaching point of view, I come across this all the time where we have things that are beyond our control, and it affects our mood, our emotion, how we feel about the day, etc.
Yeah, it's really interesting, bringing it back down to the absolute simple, like Tony spoke about a lot of great things there, is what can't we do or what can we do?
Mm.
What can't we do? What can we do? David says, love you, Bobby. You used to have a Shih Tzu cross. And Sean says, morning sports fans watching live. So Sean didn't have a late one last night, according to the rugby league was off. And, maybe I guess that's where our focus is, Tony. It was like, thinking about what we can, like, people have reflected on some of the things that they actually can do now. And that's a big thing that we can, we're getting that frustration point of view. Then what can we do as a result of that? Where's it going to lead us?
Look, I agree, mate. I sent a message to someone yesterday just seeing if they were okay, and I came back and said they're doing great and they're getting great family time and they're reconnecting as a family, and this person's got some grown-up kids, and I just think it's wonderful. It's just wonderful, and for me last night, like I know that I joke about everyone getting out and was planning on going out, but the great thing is that we end up spending some really wonderful quality time that, had that decision not been made yesterday, we would never have been playing board games. So, I just think it's what you make of it. It's what you make of it. There's things that happen outside of your control, and, you've got a choice at every single decision in our life. Everything that we do, we could either go left or right. It's either black or white. It's either 0 or 1, whatever it might be, but you've got a choice as to what you do with it. And, I choose to obviously embrace it, and I choose to make the most of it.
Yeah, I guess a reflection that I hear often is, what if we could do this or that? And what is that going to, lead for us to do? Or like, what direction do we actually then follow? Maybe allowing for, like you said, Tony, if something does hit us in the face, which path are we then going to be skewed to? How do we pivot around that?
Yeah, look, and it's great, if you've got some contingencies, and, whether it be in business, in life, you can certainly think about some things that if this was to happen, I'm going to, do this. I think that's very positive. But if you're sitting there going, well, what if it was different? Well, then that's totally different, right? Because it ain't different.
More about what if I could do that, what if I can do this, and
okay. Well, if you're sitting there saying, if you're sitting there saying, well, yeah, what if I could do this? Well, if you can't do it because the government regulation says you can't, well, you can't. So don't do it. And if you can do it within the parameters of staying within the regulations, do that. Don't sit there and say, what if? Just challenge yourself and say, well, if you can do it, great. And if you can't do it, well, do something else.
Yeah, we've got to be really careful on the context of how we use that what if line. I guess it's all about what if are the possibilities, and what can we create for ourselves. So that's the reflection that we all want to probably bring into that. Tony Gallagher says, the one thing I thought I could not control is being human contact around Zoom Friday night, and then an international fire team Zoom. This was on the back of a quick session with a great man and a Robbins trainer calling me and discussing me how else I could have what I thought I was not in my control. So yeah, a little words there. Hopefully I read them out right. But just thinking about what is in your control and what is out of your control is what we've been discussing about the frustrations that we can have in certain situations that are out of our control. And then secondly, Tony, my second point is around what can we actually control? Let's dive into that a little bit further.
Yep.
Keep the simplistic thought process going here.
Thoughts. You can control your behaviours. You can control the things that you say. You can control the things that you do. That's effectively it. And so it's all about you. You can control you. You can't control anyone else. And so from your point of view, you can challenge yourself. Again, I said it before, you at every decision we make, we're at a juncture point. You can go left or you can go right. Whatever that thing is in front of you, you choose what you do next, because that is your choice, right? That is in your control. So, go back to Tony Gallagher's point around the other day. And it was great that he showed some vulnerability, but even prior to that, Tony, and I don't know if you did or you didn't, but you could have certainly reached out to people and looked to, forge your own, connections. It's obviously great that Luke, I was going to say volunteered, but he didn't volunteer. He got booted into it. But it's great that Luke did that. But, what can you do? What else can I do? And it's a good question to ask. What else can I do? What can I do differently? Because ultimately that choice is 100% ours.
Yeah, absolutely, Tony. And we've just got to keep reminding ourselves of what we can actually control. When you hear the talk a lot about the frustrations that are going on, particularly, the big item is around COVID right now and the lockdowns, and people are reflecting about what's happening around the world all the time, and what we can't do and the frustrations behind it. But what is it allowing for us to do right now, or what can we be doing, or what are the possibilities for us individually, going back to what we can actually control?
Yeah, but go back to what you said, the frustrations. If people are feeling frustrated, they can control that. They can control their own level of frustration, right? It's the meaning that you place on things. The most common example of this is the glass that has 50% of water in it. It's either half full or half empty. It's either optimistic or pessimistic. It's exactly the same glass with exactly the same amount of water, and yet two people or multiple people can come at it from a different angle. So some people look at COVID and think frustration. Other people look at COVID and think, they'll think, oh, this is shit. I'm sure they do. Let's not BS ourselves. But then they'll also go on to think, well, what can I do next? What can I do now? Now that this has been imposed on me, what are the things that I can do? How can I make this work for me? As opposed to sitting there and, whinging and whining about the frustration. And not for a moment am I downplaying the severity of it, because it is severe. And, we're in the start of a 3-day lockdown, and we've never had what you guys are going through or what Melbourne went through last year. So I can't empathise directly, but what I can say is that regardless of where you're at, and again, the person I was messaging yesterday is in Sydney, it's a case of, well, what can you do about it? And there will be some things that you can do about it. And so it's about recognising, we'll do that. And if you're finding yourself getting frustrated or upset or angry with it all, well, you can control that, because they are your feelings and emotions.
Yeah, and I guess the tough one around it is when people then not only get frustrated, but stay in that frustration, stay stuck in that frustration.
Yep.
And that's where we don't want people to be going down and down and down and down through that spiral of frustration and anger. And, I guess there's pillars of then, getting to the depressive states. And this is what we want to avoid, and look to where we can have that growth mindset, and we can actually think about what we can actually control and how we can actually do things differently. So that is a big one.
Well, what we think about expands, and the more that you think about something, you think about it, you think about it, you think about it, it might start off being this big, it becomes this big, this big, this big, and then it becomes this immovable object. So if you catch yourself, and the whole opportunity, what are some strategies that we can take away? If you catch yourself feeling frustrated, challenge yourself on why are you feeling frustrated? What is it that's causing you to feel frustrated? Can I think differently about this? Can I change the meaning that I'm placing on this? Because the way in which the mind works is that there's things that happen outside of us. They call it external events. Comes into our mind based on our values, our beliefs, our past, our memories, various filters that we've got. We then place a meaning on that something, on that particular event. And in this instance, we're talking about COVID. From there, what it then does is changes the state of mind. So based on the meaning you place, if you're placing a meaning of upset or frustrated, it changes your state of mind. If you're feeling frustrated all the time, like you said, Luke, it may lead you to a depressive state. Now, it's not depression, but it certainly may lead you to a depressive state. Now, if you're in a depressive state, you're, from a physiology point of view, your head's going to be down, your shoulders are going to be slumped forward, you're not going to be walking with confidence, you're not going to be talking with confidence, and hence that's the way you're going to exude yourself. Whereas as that external event comes in, and again based on the filters, etc., the beliefs, values, past, the meaning that you place is, well, I'm going to now get on with it. I'm not happy, but I'm going to get on with it. And what can I do to get on with it? Now, all of a sudden, from a mindset point of view, or from a state of mind point of view, now your mindset is one of determination. It's what can I do? How can I maximize this? How can I move forward? Last year, word of the year was pivot. How can I change? Pivot, blah, blah, blah. What does that do to your physiology? Well, now all of a sudden your shoulders back, your chin's up, you're walking a lot taller, a lot stronger, you're talking a lot more assertively through changing the meaning, So challenge yourself. If you're feeling frustrated about anything, right? Challenge yourself on what meaning you're placing to that, why you're placing that meaning, and see if you can change it.
Yeah, and it's Tony. It's if you have got that positive physiology around yourself, what can you then start to attract? What can you actually start to do? Like it is amazing that when you are like that and you've got that positivity, then people want to call you, and then people want to message you, and people want to then connect with you. It is really interesting how that works. And I guess on the back of some of the vulnerability pieces that I do, like each and every day dance on before, as I start one of my videos, it does help people that are, it's relatable, doing something silly and stupid and, fun around things. And that's what we can kind of think about, what the possibilities of what we can actually control, control our vulnerability that is out there to then give something or have that karma piece come back to us. I also want to reflect on, it's really interesting at these tough times. And I reflect on the Uber story, Tony, in terms of through the GFC, they had a problem. Like, we're having problems now around the world with COVID. They had a problem, and then they went and solved the problem. Within their control, they started something. Same with Airbnb. So, and this might be on a personal level, this might be on a business level, might be whatever it might be for you, is look into your circle of control and see what the opportunities and possibilities are. Always, because that's the only thing that you can control. Go back to the point you were saying, it's amazing when you put positivity out and you get positivity back. It's a universal law. It's called the law of attraction, whether people choose to believe it or not. I certainly do. And it's about people want to gravitate to people who exude positivity. Can I also suggest that on the opposite side of the fence, misery loves company. So if you're someone who's been miserable, who's been grumpy, who's been the pain in the ass, whatever it might be, well, guess what? You're going to attract lots of people as well. It's just going to be you're going to attract those types of people, because people who are positive don't necessarily want to be with people who are being negative, and negative people can't stand people who are upbeat and positive and optimistic and all those types of things. So, it's all about, put out to the world what you'd like to attract back. And I bet if you stopped and thought about it, they would all love to attract back positivity, happiness, joy, abundance. Then put all that out to the world and see what happens. Yeah, and we also want to reflect on not making it a fake positive either. Even reflecting about what Tony Gallagher posted up on social media around the struggle and, the reach out. Now, that by any means that was a vulnerability piece of reality that he was going through right at that moment, right? But it was, but it wasn't a misery type of thing. If you are struggling, and you put your hand up and reach out. We're not looking for people to just put a fake positive and put the smiley face on for 5 minutes and then, close the Zoom session and then be in tears. The reality of where you are right now, how you are actually feeling, and talk about that and see what the possibilities and opportunities are for you to, maybe you need to sit down and get out the tissues and have a bit of a cry. Because it is frustrating for you right now. Then you can see for yourself, well, what can I do about it? What can I do at that next level?
Yeah, I don't see that as being negative at all. I see that as being real. So I see that as being authentic. I see that as being incredibly vulnerable, and I see that as being an opportunity to stick your hand up and ask for help.
And show the ideas and thoughts about it, and just have an acceptance of what is real and then what is possible.
Yeah, exactly. And I applauded and will continue to applaud Tony and others who choose to do that. What I'm referring to is people who are in a different situation, and that is that they won't stick their hand up for help. They just want to constantly go around whinge and whine, kick the can, kick the cat, et cetera, and not do anything about it. Good on Tony for at least recognising that, I'm not where I want to be right now, and I want to stick my hand up and see who can help me and wrap their arms around me and pull me up. And I just think that's a wonderful, wonderful thing. And not everyone can do that, right? And that's why the whole Are You Okay Day is there, because Are You Okay Day is built on the premise of others asking you if you're okay, because typically, and this is a thing for blokes in particular, is that we have this mask up, and we don't like to bring the mask down. We don't like to show weakness. We don't like to show our feelings or emotions, and we want to be, big and tough and full of bravado. Versus I think it's wonderful that Tony has the courage and the vulnerability to say, well, you know what, I'm not doing as good as I could, but gee whiz, I'd love to connect some people, and let's see if we can help each other out. And I just think it's wonderful.
Yeah, I find it interesting on social media, posting out about, I hope everyone, like I put out yesterday, I hope everyone's doing well. And it's amazing that people do come back to you and actually, are you okay? Thinking that I guess I'm posting about, and often what we do post is a reflection about what's going on for us. I'm just, seeing a lot of people being so frustrated, like, things that are outside their circle of control, being so frustrated about it, and not thinking that there is an opportunity or a possibility for them. That's what I hope, that people are doing okay for that moment in time, that short term that we are going to have this situation in, and then just seeing what you can do maybe in the long term as well. Tony Gallagher says, one man contacted me and said he was encouraged to also call out after he read my post, and I'll stay in touch with him. So you can help one man. That is great. And that's what it's all about. I guess, the vulnerability that Tony showed then led to other people feeling comfortable about. It's like, you know what, I'm not doing well myself. I'm struggling myself.
Well, how often does it happen? It happens all the time. It takes for one person to be sitting there, and I see. And I'll give you a simpler example. It happens quite often when you go to networking meetings, and someone will be brave enough to stick their hand and ask a question. And when they ask that question, so many people in the room are going, "Yeah, I was thinking that. I was thinking that thing. I should have asked that question." They don't do it. Whereas in this instance, Tony had the courage to stick his hand up and say, "You know what, I'm not doing as good as I could, and I'd love to connect with some people." And then there you go. And then by putting yourself, like, so many people are so quick to bag social media, and I get the negative aspects of social media and where it can be destructive. But I tell you what, gee, it's an amazing tool. When you look at it from a positive point of view, when you use it for good, in that case there, it's like, Tony sent this out to his network, and all of a sudden people are coming back and privately connecting, and I just think it's a wonderful, wonderful thing. So yes, I understand why it is that people bag social media, but also it can be used for so much good.
Yeah, absolutely. The third thing I want to talk about today is, what can we do to minimize the frustrations? What can we do for ourselves, Tony?
Yeah, well, certainly from a dwelling point of view, there's a number of questions that you can ask yourself. The first one is, what is it that I'm dwelling on? The next one is, why am I dwelling on this something, whatever that something might be? The next question you can ask yourself is, how is dwelling serving me? What benefits am I getting from dwelling? The next question you could ask is, what's the opportunity cost? So by wasting my time dwelling, on this particular thing that's gone before me, what am I missing out on? What are the opportunity costs? And the next thing then is, ultimately, what is it that I'm going to do about it? So you can actually go through a little process in your mind where you can just ask yourself some questions. I'd encourage you to write down the answers. Don't try and think about them. Think about them, but then write them down. Because when you see things in front of you, it gives you a very, very different perspective of things. And when you read it back, you go, oh my gosh, I am wasting my time on this, and I am missing out on all these wonderful things. And today is a wonderful day. I'm not sure what the rules are down in Sydney, but certainly where I am, we can still get out. You've just got to obviously put your masks on and all those types of things. It's a gorgeous day here. To think that this is winter in Australia. So, but ask yourself those series of questions and see what comes up for you. And ultimately, it's about taking action.
Yeah, Tony Gallagher says, yes, Tony, social media is a powerful tool and supports many. Even reflecting on something that I did yesterday, we were actually able to do a couple of property deals yesterday, which is interesting. So quite interesting on this fact of one of the agents said to us that people actually cancelled going to the open inspections prior to a 4 p.m. deadline. So for whatever reason, their safety, security, maybe fearful about what's going on, maybe wanted to go to the shopping centre and get the groceries instead of going to the open homes. But what they missed out on was going to buy that property, because we end up buying it and they don't have now a possibility of buying it themselves. So it is really interesting that the reaction that maybe, for those people, I don't really know the story, but there's like 4 or 5 people now that would have gone to that open inspection to have a look at the property. Now they're in a situation where they've missed out on that particular property because of whatever's going on for them. So it is really
maybe they didn't want it bad enough, Luke. Who knows? There's 101 different reasons there, and like you guys, obviously on behalf of your clients, you guys were committed, and this is why people should use a buyer's agent, quite frankly, because regardless of what's going on, Search Party Property, they're working 24/7 for you. So Search Party Property, but it's a case of, for those people, were they really fair income. I mean, they might have been looking for a reason to get out. Quite often people have, some not buyer's remorse because they hadn't bought it, but certainly some form of remorse. Who knows? But at the end of the day, can't control that. Can't control who doesn't turn up. Can't worry about why they didn't turn up. What you can do is obviously, put your best foot forward on behalf of your clients. And congratulations to you, mate. You're out there doing deals. And, look at auctions. Typically Saturday's the big day for auctions. And, I'm seeing Tom Panos out there doing stuff virtually. And the world goes on. I mean, it's about adapting. It's about recognising that, it's not good. No one's sitting here and cheering that we're in lockdown. But it's about, well, what can I do about it? How do I keep things moving forward? Because, using an auctioneer as an example, his business is reliant on A, having auctions, and then B, obviously closing on those auctions. So, he's had to come up with a way around it, and that's how you do it. For me, we're about to go into a whole lot of webinars and Zoom presentations in the next 4 to 6 weeks, because I was wanting to get back live, and then I was actually sitting there yesterday morning thinking to myself, righto, we're going to go back live, and I made the decision at around 10:30 yesterday morning. That's it. It's too unpredictable right now. So my business still needs to get up and running, and so we're going to do a whole lot of Zooms and webinars to help people out.
Yeah, that's awesome, Tony. And I think that's a big one for everyone. Tony, for everyone that is listening right now, it's important to you ask a series of questions about the circle of control for yourself. And if you are dwelling in those moments, and this is the power, like of people who use a buyer's agent as your property coach, helping you through the journey, or, Tony Meredith in terms of the coaching to work on your mindset, to work on your growth ideas, to work on those frustrations and dwelling. Are you actually asking yourself those questions now and when you're in those situations? And that's the big one. I guess it's coaching is a prevention is better than cure. And also, if you have got those frustrations that you're holding on to repair some of those issues that are going on. Would you say, Tony?
Yeah, although I would say with coaching, it's not just about prevention. It's about maximising your performance. It's been a real thrill this week. I love the Olympics. I just think it's magnificent. And, all of those champion swimmers, and other athletes. And what's one of the first things that they say? They talk about their coach. So here's people at the absolute peak of their powers. Go back a month when Ash Barty won Wimbledon. What did she do? She dedicated it to her coach. Ariane Titmus dedicated it to her coach, who went viral with his antics, which was just wonderful.
So good. How good was that?
Oh, fantastic.
That was just so good.
Fantastic. So, yeah, absolutely, right. And why not? Because, you get up early mornings, you put blood, sweat and tears into those efforts. The coach is in there as much as the swimmer is as well. The coach is going through the ebbs and the flows, going through the emotions. Swimmers, even elite swimmers, have good days, bad days, going through injuries, setback, personal issues, whatever it may be. And the coach is there to help those people through that. So, it's as much as it's a release for the athlete, by golly, it's an absolute release and a real.
We do talk about celebration as well, Tony, don't we? And that was one hell of a celebration.
Fantastic. I love it. I think it's amazing. And again, because there's just, so much goes into those, to those, winning gold medals are years and years and years and years in the making. And, to have that opportunity to get into a final, to get into Olympics is awesome. Then get into a final is awesome. And then to win, wowee. So, but the point that I want to make is, yes, we all have, those people have coaches because it's about optimizing your performance.
Yeah, absolutely. So remember that for everyone. Like I can imagine myself being in this situation. You're going to have 5 or 10 coaches in your life for whatever it might be. So have a little strong reflection about where you are right now. And if you do need that, I believe that we all need the coaching. What can you do for yourself around this piece of what is in your circle of control? Do you need help around that? Reach out for that help, like Tony Gallagher did in terms of the social media post. So it's a big reach out, especially at these times that are tough on, all of us. We've got restrictions in place. So we can't just go and do and be free and do whatever we want. As opposed to, some people are doing that. It is, a great one for us to really reflect on. Gabby's come on as well. David says, you are a great coach. And Gabby says, I have an awesome coach. Good on you, Gabby. Tony, any final words about your circle of control?
Well, just be conscious of it. Just recognize it. When you feel yourself getting upset, getting frustrated, ask yourself, can I control that? Can I make an influence? Can I have an impact? Can I do something different? If you can't do anything different, let it go. And if you can do something different, go and do that thing, whatever that thing is that you can do different. But recognize it.
Questions, Tony, you want to ask yourself every day?
What went well and what can I do different? And it just helps with the self-awareness of things. It helps, when you say what went well, what are the great things that is going on right now? And there's so much great stuff happening right now. And then what can I do different? If you recognize that, I was dwelling, I was being negative, I was being fearful, I was procrastinating, whatever it might be, if you recognize in reflection that that's what you were doing, then tomorrow, what are you going to do differently about it? Or today, what are you going to do differently about it?
I'll tell you something that went well this morning. I can actually smell it now. It's a shame that you can't get a sense of smell through video, but there's some focaccia bread that's waiting for me, Tony.
Oh, so magnificent.
That's something that went well and he's about to go really well.
Okay, well, I tell you what needs to be working on improvement is I've watched my dog carry half the bark garden into my lounge. So whilst you're sitting there having some focaccia bread, I'll be collecting.
What would you do differently, Tony? What would you do?
I would have put the dog inside and closed the damn door. But nonetheless, nonetheless, I'm glad she had a little cameo here this morning. But yes, enjoy your focaccia. I've got some bark to put back in the garden.
All right, Tony, everyone, it's great to have you on this Sunday Mindset session. Hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight for a big week ahead. Let's get through this together. Let's do it together. We're on here to collaborate as a team. We're doing this together. We're in for the long haul. Let's go. Let's make it happen. And Tony, now you can control that, can't you?
Well, not really. I've grabbed her. That's about as much control. Look at the dirty paws. Anyway, bye-bye.
All right. See you guys.